Hello, good morning and welcome to my garden. I'd like to give you a brief tour of my garden. May not be so brief, I don't know. Going to divide my garden into three sections. Going to have the low flat area. I have a large slope to the rear there, and of course the front garden. First of all, here we've got massive choicea, golden choicea bush, shrub, and some of the neighbours' forsythia, resplendently yellow there. Have some herbs in this bricked wall area. Not terribly happy with the performance of that, but things will change. Right here, got a load of gooseberries and rhubarb. More gooseberries here. Flanking the path, we have two nice olive bushes. Difficulty with these olive bushes is to maintain their shape without brutalizing them, and they do like to spread across the path quite quickly. In the centre there, I assume that was once a water feature and was filled in by the retired couple that lived here previously. It is a mass of irises, creeping jenny. We do get some very nice lilies come up. I've planted a cardoon in the middle, which will come up absolutely enormous. I will clear this area, add some compost, and grow beans, sweet peas, suitable things for such a border. Right down here in later summer, it is absolutely awash with Chinese lanterns, and that's a bit of a problem. So later on I do need to completely dig out this border and try to weed out. But first of all, I'd like the wild garlic and these peace lilies, I think the Xanthodecia, to do their thing. Further along here, some hyacinths doing their thing, smelling very, very potent. Some potentilla, some lemony vanilla coloured flowers come up on that, and it's just coming into leaf. Further down, it's some sedum, already stretching up, and late August will be looking absolutely stunning. More wild garlic and bluebells, I think, coming up through here, and some dandelions. I do like to leave the dandelions until they have flowered, but before they go to seed, so that the bees and pollinators get some nice early food from them. And two lots of honeysuckle in this wire trellis area. Hopefully get them identified during this season. Took the brave decision to really hack that honeysuckle velanicera right back last autumn. It was getting bulging out on either side, and it's responding very well to it, thankfully. And perhaps my favourite shrub, the Californian lilac, Ceanothus. Some amazing blue flowers will come onto this in the weeks ahead. It does have the Royal Horticultural Society's Award of Garden Merit. Responds well to pruning. It's an evergreen. Can't go wrong with a nice Ceanothus. I'm going to try to encourage it to go more up this season as opposed to out, because it encroaches on the paths, but it's a fantastic plant. I have a number of hellebores in the garden. They're not my favourite of flowers, but they do give winter interest. Some doing their last thing there. Along here I have begun to integrate some terraces into what was once a sloped area, and input my own tastes in gardening there. So here I've got some Santolina Cypericis, plenty of fennel. I love fennel as it gets mature, and a great illuminated umbelliferous plant. Primula, of course, daffs, a lovely camellia. Added some ericaceous compost around the sides of that for a top dressing last year, and I fancy it's really liked it. Here underneath the Acer is going to be a sea of wild garlic and bluebells before too long. I'm trying to improve the soil here and just top dress it with some peat-free compost when I can. Here, a shrub. I'm not sure on the identity of that, so please drop a comment if you know what that one is. Here underneath my Acer is some more sedum. Doesn't seem to perform very well down here. It seems to not quite finish flowering before the season's wrapped, so I may look to move it. This is my Acer, and I cut some of the lower branches deep in December, probably early January, to help improve the light underneath the canopy. And just this very week in the last 2 or 3 days, the leaves have begun unfurling. Here, either side of the steps, got some spreading alpines, a sedum of some sort. Some self-set St John's wort, Hypericum, tends to get everywhere. I do have to pull it up quite a bit. Late last season, I discovered this Photinia Red Robin. I've trimmed it down. Looks a bit brutal at the moment, but I want to encourage more growth at the sides instead of a very tall, spindly specimen. Yeah, it was heavily overshadowed by the Acer, so I look forward to seeing what goes on with the Photinia this season. Have a buddleia here. As you probably know, buddleia tends to spread everywhere, but I wanted to tame this one. Orange Montbretia, I will show you more of this higher up the garden later on, but this is going to be a problem. I'm having this flow down the garden in many places. It looks amazing late summer, but there's too much of it. And another shrub I don't quite know, it's just coming into blossom end of March. If you can help me identify it, I'd appreciate that. I think it's a Catoniasta of some sort, but I could be wrong. Here I had a massive towering shrub of some sort. In the process of pruning it, it kept splintering very low down, so it looks a right mess, but I'm hoping it will recover and come back very nicely. It was taking up far too much light, and again I wanted to open up the ground here. Down here we have some feverfew tenacitum, imported in some compost I had from an old compost bin. This is popping up everywhere and it's going to be a problem, but I will haul it in. Some Nyphophia for extra colour late in the season. I've wanted Nyphophia for years. I got some last year. The ubiquitous Verbena bonariensis. I've wanted one of these for years, and I got one from a good garden centre last year and one from a supermarket, and that's at the front. I'm going to see how they each compare. And here on a tree stump, this is obviously not one I've cultivated or a previous person has, but we have some magnificent turkey tail fungus, turkey tail bracket fungi. And look at that, isn't that growing amazingly? There's an amazing beetle just down there. Here I've got a very big Catoniasta, and again there's plenty of this self-set all over the garden. What I'd quite like to do with this specimen is to train it to be more upright, trim many of the lower branches, and have it kind of a much more upright, if you like, arboreal version. Train it. On the boundary here we've got a really nice rose. There's lots of roses in this garden, and hopefully I might get them identified this season, but they're always good in the boundaries. Thistly, spiky, thorny ones. A lily, I did identify this last season and I can't remember what it is. A hebe. Again, they're pleasant pattern and colours, but they do get woody so very easily, and I do resent that. Down here I've got some fritillaries. It's been 2 years since I've seen this, so I wasn't here at this time last year, and so I'm glad to see that the clump has thickened a little, but I don't want to interfere with it. But I'm very pleased with those. I have to come and grab some pictures when I know they've opened up a bit more. Right down here is some Asters, again some autumn colour. Still got the remains of the seed heads left there. I'll give them a tidy up soon. And just next door, of course, we have a lovely Hyacinth. The sun's now swung right around and it's illuminating the bank behind me, the slope of my garden, and so it's a fantastic time to have a look at some of the plants growing up here. We have here some Lonicera, Nitida, Baggins's Gold, something like that. Plenty more Crocosmia, Montbretia. Further down, wild garlic, conifer of some sort. Another shrub, I don't know, but I've cut right back because it was taking over. A big rambling rose. It was so big and rambling, I've hacked it down to a very proud stem, and that will come back a treat this year. Cardoon at number 2. some more helleborus. It's just turning into a bit of a generation game conveyor belt of plants, isn't it? One of my favourite tactile plants here, some Stachys byzantina, lamb's ears. Just give it a stroke and it is so soft, it is beautiful. There's a massive pyrocanthera here. I think it's the Pyrocanthera Mojave. Again, I've trimmed one trunk back a bit, leaving another to let it establish and see if I can encourage it upwards. A rhododendron getting ripe to come into blossom. I think a ribes of some sort here. Again, with a lot of the garden, I've taken things right back to allow the ground to receive a lot more light and to allow new growth, fresh growth to establish on the older woody shrubs. And here we've got the Syngonium goosefoot plant. Not sure if I really want it, but I do enjoy it, so I'll leave it for the time being. Some geranium spreading itself around here, and more tenacitum. Would you believe it? A dandelion already gone to seed. Hairy bittercress. I have so much of this throughout the garden. When we had the lockdown, I spent a lot of the first few days weeding this stuff out. It has diminished, but it does come back and is a perennial issue. Now, looking along this highest long border, you can see the Crocosmia, the Montbretia, spreading and kind of flowing downhill in places. Makes a beautiful display, but it is becoming a bit too much. Have some more roses. 1, 2, 3, 4 roses on that way. Another of the self-set Catoniasta, and some Pieris, which has really benefited from opening up the canopy. And I think, looking at the leaf shape and the new growth, that's another Pieris there. A broom, cytisis, not cystitis, but cytisis. I think we have a berberis here. Got a herbaceous perennial of some sort. I think it's a pretty star-shaped purple flower. Can't recall the name of it. And here is my apple tree. Need to learn how to better manage this. Another buddleia. And some more St. John's wort. More primroses. A very kind of thicket forming shrub which I hacked right back. Some more goosefoot plant. And a flow of Montbretia. And another rose bush. And a number of ferns. Currently looking rather dull and brown, but they will be back. Oh yes. Here I have a large formium which I want to split and repot. Contorted hazel. I want to lift the plant out and bottom dress some fresh compost so that the top 6 inches is made up and the plant gets a bit more place to grow. And this very, very sorry looking specimen of a hydrangea, I'm going to be trimming it and taking off this part down to there and probably bringing in these ends a bit to encourage more central plant growth. And so to the front we have this Pieris here, trimmed back some of the just plain green which was coming through to allow the variegated to thrive better, and it's coming through a treat. Bottle brush comes out with loads of red wispy flowers for a couple weeks. Absolutely magnificent. Low down in the border we have poppies, wild garlic coming through, which leads me into a fuchsia coming back into life. Some roses which are actually doing really nicely. They were very poorly and I trimmed them back and gave them a feed of pelleted chicken manure, staked them off the drive so they don't get hit by the cars, and again they're coming through a treat. And some spirea, Japanese meadowsweet, just opening up now. This border's a bit of a mess. Tenacitum, some geranium, some muscari, a hyacinth, and plenty of weeds, celandine, hairy bittercress, some more hellebores. I have a pot there which has in it a peony just coming up. Another pot with some hostas and another cardoon, which I'm hoping will take pride of place in the centre of the garden later on in the season as it establishes and comes up to huge height. Another Japanese meadowsweet here, heading down to another Verbena bonariensis. Plenty of Crocosmia, Lucifer and Gladioli planted at the back. Well, that's my garden. I have the joy and the pain and the labour of looking after this and working out how I maintain it or even improve it and keep on top of the weeds. If you've enjoyed it, let me know, add a comment. If you can identify a plant that I've gone about, please let me know. And I hope to do an update about 3 months' time, and we'll see just how revolutionised my garden is through the seasons.